BlackRock CEO confirms that people in blockchain are going to be millionaires. We're going to find out today.
I ain't gonna give in now. I think gonna live this now. I'm gonna be man, I'ma kill this stuff real quick. I'ma go take it to town, cause I gotta be that king in the ring when I'm knocking them out when I'm back with the whip. Cause I am just up on the journey. You just know that I'm just going to say.
Warriors, it's grand rising and good evening, warriors all over the world. First of all, I want to share with you from my family to yours, I love you unconditionally. Now, I want to quickly and briefly address something in regards to the confidential committee. The reason why it's called a confidential committee for the potential buyback of XRP is what I meant by that on Twitter was some people decided to remain confidential. The documents and information will not be confidential. I'll be bringing Jimmy Valhill on the channel to break it down the next couple of weeks once the documents are complete. Now, this is not to say that they are saying they're going to buy back XRP. We are working to protect ourselves as investors just in case. Remember, XRP can move all the money. Some people say it was not even meant for retail investors. So would you rather protect your investment and have a voice at the table or do nothing about it? That's what this document to the Federal Reserve is all about. And I will bring that information to you. So I decided not to stay confidential because I'm proud to be part of history. So I'm going to get off that soapbox and we're going to dive right into it. My name is Coach JB. I am the top health, mindset, crypto, and business coach in the world. Remember, what you believe in your heart, you think in your mind will eventually become your words and become your reality. If you can see it in your mind, eventually you can hold it right here in your hands. What you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes an unconscious activity. Now, I'm going to share with you the game so you won't be played. As you look this way, there's another narrative going on this way. As YouTubers lead you off the cliff and chasing FTX and all this stuff happening right now FTX is a big subject. You're going to get a lot of views from that stuff. But warriors, who do you think is going to change the game? Who do you think you should follow for investment advice? BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, or a YouTuber like me? YouTubers telling you what the next big coin's going to be. YouTubers telling you how they have it all figured out. What I do is I'm presenting facts, figures, numbers, logic. That's why I've had a real world fundamental portfolio the whole time. We look at investments just like we look at our investments in our companies that we own. We have equity in companies and we look at the companies, we look at the leadership team, we look at the marketing team, we look at how we can add value based on our equity and will this be something that's sustainable in the future? We do the same thing with all investments, our crypto investments. Okay, that's why I look at companies like Ripple that are already operating. They're already a company. They're already doing business. They're global. They have huge connections. VeChain, CEO travels over 200 days a year. They're already operating as a company and a business. So we look at our investments as blockchain and software technology. Now, so this is the CEO of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world. Before we dive into this, let's just show you the scope of this. So this says 10 million. He just confirmed, and I'll show you guys this in just a moment. So this is from Wikipedia. BlackRock is an American multinational investment company based in New York, founded in 1988. Okay, so they run about, it says on here, about 10 trillion in assets under management in January 2022. If you've been paying attention to my content, to give you context, China's GDP is 29 trillion. They are at 10 trillion. The last document that came out is 8 trillion under management. Trillion with a T. Okay. America has the largest GDP. China is number 2, and BlackRock holds 10 trillion in assets under management. So who are you going to take advice from? The person who's actually moving the monetary system, who's on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum and is moving the mission forward, or some YouTubers like me who maybe have a little bit in their portfolio, so does that make sense? Right? So you got to know the game to play the game, warriors. The only way you can change the game is play the game, get the wealth for your family, do what Elon's doing. Got billions of dollars and is changing the game. Stop being an armchair quarterback. We're not going to beat the system. We can only change the system by getting the wealth. Okay, so let's dive into what he says about blockchain technology and crypto, and then I'll give you some confirmation of facts, figures, numbers, logic.
Does this change your view of crypto at all? You now have a deal with Coinbase. And yet you were always sort of also, I think, a bit of a skeptic of all this.
Oh, I actually believe most of the companies are not going to be around. I still believe that. I do believe
because they're now real, they're frauds, they're what?
Well, I mean, think about FTX. I mean, you could look back now. FTX created it. Its failure was it's creating its own token. It was not a DeFi. It wasn't a ledger that was open to the world. It was a closed ledger.
Right.
It was not distributed. So the whole foundation of what crypto is, it's supposed to be a distributed ledger that is across the system. I actually believe this technology is going to be very important.
Okay, so let's pause for just a moment. We watched this video before. We got to pay attention to what he said. Distributed ledger technology, ODL, on-demand liquidity, DLT, Ripple, okay? One of the biggest DLT companies in the world. He also talked about most coins won't be here. We've talked about it on this channel for a very long time. They let all this happen. Regulation is coming in at this time for a reason. They let all these people get super over leveraged and they collapse them. Problem, reaction, solution. Whoever creates the problem creates a reaction in the people, and then the same person who created the problem comes up with the solution, which is regulation and monopolizing the crypto market and getting 1.9 billion unbanked people into the system to tax them.
Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in an index, in an ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities.
Okay, so that's huge. Tokenization of securities, excuse me. They have 8 trillion, I'm going to show you that, to 10 trillion under management. So imagine all the assets that they have control over being tokenized. Where does that utility come from?
We will, and if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem. You don't need trust banks.
But does that disrupt you eventually? Because you are custodying all of these assets.
No, we're not a custodian. We're not, we use third-party custodians in everything we do.
In everything you do?
We're not a custodian bank.
So your goal, by the way, I don't think that he was technically a custodian either, which is a separate issue.
I think they were. I don't know if there was a real custodian in that closed ledger, but that's a whole other story. You should ask him that question. No, I mean, the transformation, think about instantaneous settlement, bonds and stocks. No middlemen. We're going to bring down fees even more dramatically. As for me, I don't have to vote on any shares anymore because the beneficial owner will do all the voting.
Boom. Okay, so you have the largest asset manager in the world who's on the board of trustees for the World Economic Forum to move the mission forward for the World Economic Forum. You don't think he's talking to Klaus Schwab. Ripple's on the board of World Economic Forum. You don't think they're communicating. You don't think they're touching base. You don't think that these companies are talking. XLM is part of the coalition to bring in Web3 on the World Economic Forum. I showed you all the deep connections, okay? So we got this article came out from Forbes. The next generation BlackRock CEO reveals 8 trillion funds, huge crypto prediction after Bitcoin and Ethereum crash. You know, he's diving, the whole narrative has changed for him. The whole narrative's changed. I actually believe in this technology is going to be very important, Fink said. This is about instantaneous settlements of bonds, stocks, no middleman. We're going to bring down fees even more dramatically. Think about it. It changes the whole ecosystem. I've been telling you this the whole time. Banks are now going to be customer service banks. The fees are going to be very low for them to move money, and they're going to charge a small little margin, which is going to be huge, huge. It's expensive to move money right now. It's going to become very cheap, instantaneous. They're going to be customer service banks custodying your crypto. You're going to be able to do a asset-backed loan with your Ethereum, your Bitcoin in your local bank in the next couple of years, and you are going to be normally operating with crypto, and all your family members that said it's a fraud are literally going to be using crypto without knowing it, okay? Let's dive into this. Okay, So I wanted to show you the deep connections, right? So this is on BlackRock's website. Again, we know he's connected to the World Economic Forum. His mission is to move the mission forward. Their mission is zero carbon by 2030. This is on BlackRock's website. I've showed you this guy's stuff, but we have to repeatedly repeat the same things. So this gets ingrained in your mind so you do not get fudded out and you're not focused on the shit that doesn't matter. You got to stop focusing on the meaningless many, the critical few. That's what we do in business. The critical few. Stop focusing on the bullshit, all the sensationalism, and get focused on the critical few, long-term, fundamental, hold the line, stop trying to get rich quick, and you will change your whole family's timeline. From ambition to action, the path to net zero. On World Economic Forum, they use the same language, okay? It says, we're asking a bigger question to spark a new idea and innovation together on the road to net zero. We're committed to an inclusion, equitable, and prosperous transfer or for all. Transition, excuse me. They're transitioning us to net zero. Do you think think about this. Do you think people with 10 million or people with 8 to 10 trillion in their bank account or under management, are going to move the system? Which one? So who would you follow? Which investment path would you follow? We know this. They talked about it. Coinbase selective. Coinbase isn't going anywhere, guys. BlackRock to provide Aladdin clients with access to crypto trading and custody via Coinbase Prime. BlackRock unveils a new offering powering investors transition to net zero emissions through Aladdin. ESG is the new topic. ESG is zero carbon. I showed you the Pope is traveling around one of the biggest investment companies in the world, the Vatican, that's sovereign. That's a nonprofit organization that doesn't pay taxes, is running around telling companies, hey, let me tap on your shoulder here. I'm one of the most powerful human beings in the world. You know, I'm a representative of God, and I'm coming to tell you, I'm here to talk to you about ESG. Like, start to use the right hemisphere of your brain, fam. Oh, also, just to remind you, the feds asked BlackRock to help in the echo of the 2008. BlackRock was tapped to help rebalance the markets in 2008. And in Think We Trust, the BlackRock is now the fourth branch of the government. When the feds looked at the bond buying help in the crisis, it turned to giant money manager. This was in 2020 during the C word, as you got locked down and got stimulus checks and money was printed into oblivion and the rich became much richer and the poor became much poorer. And as they transition you to zero carbon by 2030, the middle class is going to get wiped out, leverage source technology, and you have information now that you can invest in these supposed speculative asset, long-term fundamental cryptos and investments that are going to move us into the future ecosystem. Nobody's going to avoid this. Everybody who's trying to go again, you're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop BlackRock from changing the system. You're not going to stop Jamie Dimon from stopping the system. The true president of the United States is BlackRock, Larry Fink, and Jamie Dimon of Chase Bank. Though that's the president and CEO of America. You know that, right? You know that. It's not Biden. He's not pulling the strings, man. He's just parroting information, okay? But you guys know God is my president and God we trust. That was what was on my monetary system. In God we trust, not in man, woman, or government. And I'm not against anybody. I'm not going against government. You don't see me protesting. I pay my taxes. I do what I need to do within the rule. As he said, Jesus, who do we pay our taxes to? He said, whose face is on that coin? He said, Caesar. He said, then pay your taxes to Caesar. You're free. You have a choice, especially if you're in America. If you end up poor in America, that's your fault. That's because you didn't unindoctrinate yourself from the schooling system and the education system. You have the opportunity right now to be very, very wealthy. But it starts here and it starts here. Sovereignty is already available for you, fam. And I know this stuff, this isn't sensationalized. This isn't as popular as all the things going on. But I'll tell you what, the truth will set you free. It set me free. And my truth may not be yours, but my truth is I love you unconditionally without expectations. You should only have expectations for yourself. And I'm working harder on myself than I do anything else. Therefore, I will always be free. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Down below, you can get into the Discord for our launch of X Royalty, which is 34 days away, January 11th, 2023. What else? I got my private coaching program coming up. That information will be coming out very, very soon at the back end of this week. And so I'll be open to the public in regards to interview process. You'll get to interview with me, and then we'll decide the top 20 that are going to work with me privately as we go into 2023. As we always say, Warriors, get your shit together. Let's go.